In the early 1960s, a wealthy tractor manufacturer named Ferruccio Lamborghini drove to Maranello with a simple complaint. The clutch in his Ferrari 250 GT kept failing. He'd built one of Italy's largest tractor empires from military surplus and raw mechanical skill, and he knew exactly what was wrong. So he brought the problem directly to Enzo Ferrari. What he received wasn't a fix. It was a dismissal, so cutting that within months, Ferruccio would pour his fortune into a factory with one purpose: to destroy Ferrari's dominance. By 1966, the Miura would redefine the supercar forever. But how does a farmer's son end up declaring war on the most feared name in automotive history? Ferruccio Lamborghini was born on April 28, 1916, in the small farming hamlet of Renazzo near Cento. As the eldest son of grape farmers, his future seemed written in the soil. Yet he rejected the vines, drawn instead to the cold precision of metal and the warmth of burning fuel. He skipped agricultural chores to study at the Taddia Brothers Professional Institute in Bologna, later apprenticing under a local blacksmith to master welding, ironworking, and basic engine repair. When World War II broke out, the Italian military put his hands to work. Stationed on the Greek island of Rhodes, he was assigned to the Mixed Operations Vehicle Fleet. As head of the motor pool, his daily reality was keeping heavy-duty trucks, tractors, and tactical diesel engines running with scarce supplies and immense pressure. This remote island outpost became a high-stakes laboratory. Here, he mastered the complex mechanics of drivetrains, hydraulic systems, and diesel power plants. He learned how to make machines survive under extreme stress. By the time he returned to Italy in 1946, the young mechanic possessed something far more valuable than land. He had a profound, practical understanding of mechanical reliability and a vision. Italy was ruined, starving for agricultural machinery, and littered with abandoned military hardware. Ferruccio saw a direct path forward. He would take the heavy-duty components of war and rebuild them for peace. Ferruccio bought up surplus military trucks and engines through the government's ARAR program. In a small workshop in Cento, he re-engineered these machines of war. His first creation, the 1948 Carioca tractor, featured an innovative fuel atomizer. It started on scarce petrol before switching to cheap diesel once the Morris engine warmed up. Italian farmers, desperate to rebuild their fields, bought every unit he could build. On February 3, 1948, he officially founded Lamborghini Trattori. By 1951, his workshop moved beyond repurposed military parts with the launch of the L33, the first tractor built entirely in-house by Lamborghini. Production quickly scaled from one machine a week to over 200. The post-war agricultural expansion turned the former military mechanic into a self-made industrial giant. But wealth did not change Ferruccio's practical, hands-on identity. He remained a man of grease and gears, obsessed with efficiency. This pragmatism stood in stark contrast to Enzo Ferrari's aristocratic, racing-obsessed public image. To Enzo, road cars were merely a commercial nuisance, built solely to fund his legendary Scuderia Ferrari racing team. Armed with his new fortune, Ferruccio purchased a white Ferrari 250 GT. He expected the pinnacle of Italian engineering. Instead, he found a fragile machine that could not keep up with his aggressive driving style. The tractor maker was about to clash with the king of Maranello. Ferruccio Lamborghini was no stranger to high performance. He owned several Ferraris, including a white 250 GT that he drove with aggressive, practical enthusiasm. To Ferruccio, these cars were masterpieces of design, but his admiration soon soured into frustration. Under the stress of his spirited driving, the 250 GT suffered from persistent, recurring clutch failures. In any high-performance vehicle, the clutch is the critical link, the part that transfers engine power to the drivetrain under repeated load. When it slips or burns out, even a V12 masterpiece becomes useless. Weary of frequent trips to the Ferrari service center in Maranello, Ferruccio decided to bypass the official dealership network. He brought the sports car into his own tractor workshop and ordered his mechanics to tear down the transmission. What they found challenged the myth of Ferrari's bespoke engineering. When Ferruccio's team disassembled the clutch, they realized they were looking at a standard, mass-produced commercial unit. According to later, widely circulated anecdotes, the component was structurally identical to the low-cost clutches used in Lamborghini's own agricultural tractors. While archival records do not definitively prove a direct parts match, the mechanical comparison became the core of Ferruccio's grievance. Why was an elite, expensive sports car relying on an ordinary commercial part that could not handle the engine's power? As a self-made industrialist who built his empire on mechanical reliability, Ferruccio believed he had identified a simple, practical engineering fix. He felt his hands-on expertise earned him the right to be heard. Late in 1962, Ferruccio Lamborghini drove to Maranello, determined to speak directly with Enzo Ferrari. He arrived at the factory gates as a successful manufacturer, expecting a peer-to-peer discussion about a practical engineering fix for the 250 GT's transmission. Instead, he ran directly into Enzo's legendary disdain. To the aristocratic racing king, customer feedback was an unwelcome annoyance. The encounter was brief, sharp, and entirely private. According to later reports, Enzo Ferrari scoffed at the feedback, allegedly telling Ferruccio that a tractor driver could never handle a high-performance sports car and that he should stick to agricultural machinery. The insult is famous. The transcript is not. No secretary recorded the meeting. No official documents preserve the exchange. Over the years, recollections have shifted, with some describing a polite brushing off and others a blunt, angry rejection. But while the exact phrasing remains unverified, the emotional fallout was real. Wounded pride turned a simple product complaint into a personal war. Enzo Ferrari had dismissed Ferruccio as a mere tractor maker, disregarding his engineering expertise and his status as a self-made industrial giant. How does a man who built an empire from post-war scrap react to such contempt? Ferruccio returned to his workshop with a damaged clutch and a burning resolve. He would no longer seek Enzo's respect. Instead, he would build his own Grand Tourer and force Ferrari to acknowledge him on the road. Ferruccio channeled his anger into concrete and steel. In the spring of 1963, he purchased a 46,000 square meter plot of land on Via Modena in Sant'Agata Bolognese. His move was a calculated industrial strategy, funded entirely by the massive profits of his tractor business. While Enzo Ferrari built road cars reluctantly to fund his racing team, Ferruccio designed his new factory with a single aggressive focus: to build the perfect road car. On October 29, 1963, only months after the reported clash in Maranello, the public got its first glimpse of Ferruccio's ambition. He unveiled the Lamborghini 350 GTV prototype at the Turin Motor Show. The sleek, metallic blue coupe stunned the automotive press. But behind the beautiful bodywork lay a chaotic reality. The car's chassis had been built inside his tractor plant because the Sant'Agata factory was still under construction. The newly designed 3.5-liter V12 engine was so tightly packaged it did not actually fit under the hood, forcing mechanics to load the engine bay with ballast bricks just to keep the car at the correct ride height. This frantic development raises a critical question. Did a single insult truly launch a car company? The rapid emergence of the prototype did not prove a fully formed pre-meeting program. It suggests Ferruccio's automotive ambitions had been brewing informally, waiting for the right moment. The reported dismissal from Enzo was the spark, but the fuel was Ferruccio's enormous personal wealth and engineering drive. On December 3, 1963, Automobili Lamborghini was officially incorporated. The tractor maker had stopped complaining about broken clutches. He had built a physical fortress, hired brilliant engineering minds, and prepared a machine to challenge the throne. Could this first Grand Tourer truly challenge the undisputed king of Maranello? To turn a rough prototype into a road-ready machine, Ferruccio needed a world-class team. He did not poach talent through underhanded tactics. Instead, he offered young, ambitious minds something rare in the rigid Italian automotive industry: absolute creative freedom backed by substantial tractor profits. Giotto Bizzarini, a brilliant engineer with a legendary Ferrari pedigree, was commissioned to design a brand new 3.5-liter quad-cam V12 engine. Next, 27-year-old Giampaolo Dallara and his deputy Paolo Stanzani brought their technical expertise from Maserati and Ferrari to oversee the chassis and overall development. To refine the package on the road, Ferruccio hired Bob Wallace, a New Zealander who served as a tireless hands-on test driver and pragmatic troubleshooter. This young collective worked under a direct, uncompromising brief: build a Grand Tourer that was faster, more comfortable, more refined, and far more reliable than a Ferrari. Ferruccio wanted an executive express for drivers who demanded high-performance power without the high-maintenance temperament. The result was the 350 GT, which entered production in May 1964. While the earlier GTV prototype had been a compromised showpiece, the production 350 GT was an engineering triumph. It featured a front-engine layout wrapped in a refined aluminum body, fully independent front and rear suspension, vacuum-assisted four-wheel disc brakes, and a precise 5-speed manual transmission. To guarantee daily usability, the racing-derived Bizzarini 512 was detuned to a highly reliable 270 horsepower. Between 1964 and 1966, the factory completed approximately 120 examples of the 350 GT. The automotive press praised its smooth power delivery and predictable handling. Ferruccio had achieved his first victory. He proved that a tractor maker could build a credible, genuine road car. Having established this baseline of engineering precision, the young company now earned the right to attempt something truly radical. In the opening months of 1965, a secret project quietly took shape inside the Sant'Agata factory under the codename P400. While the 350 GT had established Lamborghini as a legitimate builder of refined Grand Tourers, Gianpaolo Dallara, Paolo Stanzani, and Bob Wallace wanted to trigger a revolution. They envisioned a machine that would render everything else on the road obsolete. The young engineers proposed a radical layout, mounting Giotto Bizzarini's powerful V12 engine sideways behind the passenger cabin, right ahead of the rear wheels. This transverse mid-engine configuration was a massive gamble. By concentrating the heavy mechanical mass near the center of the chassis, they could dramatically improve balance, traction, and cornering agility. But packaging a massive 12-cylinder power plant, a 5-speed gearbox, and a differential into one compact rear unit had never been successfully executed for a production road car. The architecture belonged to the high-stakes world of racing prototypes, not comfortable road cars. To make this extreme engineering concept work, they needed a design that would make their radical ideas instantly legible. They turned to the design house Bertone, where a brilliant 27-year-old designer named Marcello Gandini was tasked with styling the body. Gandini wrapped the innovative chassis in a low, muscular, sweeping silhouette that looked less like a car and more like a predator ready to strike. It featured aggressive air intakes, eyelashes around the pop-up headlights, and a jaw-dropping height of just 41 inches. The vehicle did not look like a gradual refinement of the 350 GT. It looked as if it had been dropped into the 1960s from a distant decade. Popular history often credits Lamborghini's young team with inventing the mid-engine road car from scratch. The reality is more nuanced. Concept cars and limited prototype studies by brands like Ghia and Maserati had experimented with mid-engine layouts before. Yet, those remained isolated design exercises. It was Lamborghini's gamble that would turn this exotic racing layout into a culturally defining production reality. Dallara and Stanzani worked late into the nights, hiding the project from Ferruccio himself initially, unsure of how the pragmatist would react to such an expensive, unproven concept. When Ferruccio finally saw the rolling chassis, he made a calculated decision to fund it, recognizing it as the ultimate weapon to humiliate Enzo Ferrari. The stage was set, the car was built, and the automotive world had no idea what was about to hit them. On March 10, 1966, the doors of the Geneva Motor Show opened, and the established Italian automotive hierarchy fractured. Resting on the Bertone stand was the completed Lamborghini Miura, finished in a striking orange hue. The response was immediate, intense, and overwhelming. The crowds did not simply look, they stared in near disbelief. Standing only 41 inches tall, the car possessed low, sweeping proportions that defied contemporary design. Marcello Gandini's low nose, the eyelashes framing the pop-up headlights, and the muscular rear fenders clung tightly to the mechanical package underneath. Underneath that beautiful skin lay the ultimate contradiction, a fully road-legal Grand Tourer with the extreme performance and mid-engine balance of a Formula One prototype. The machine looked like it belonged on a starting grid, yet it was built for the open road. How could a self-made tractor builder from Cento produce something so advanced, so quickly? The automotive press was completely stunned. Journalists struggled to classify this new breed of machine, eventually coining a fresh term that would permanently alter car culture: the supercar. The reaction was electric. Wealthy industrialists, Hollywood actors, and European royalty rushed to the Lamborghini stand, eager to place deposits for a car most had never even heard start. With this single vehicle, Ferruccio was no longer merely a loud critic from the provinces trying to fix bad clutches. He was the undisputed creator of the most desirable road car on the planet. Over its lifespan, the factory constructed approximately 764 examples of the Miura across several legendary variants. But the true power of the car was not measured in sales figures or racetrack lap times. It was felt in the sudden, uneasy silence from Maranello. Enzo Ferrari had spent his life building an empire on Grand Prix victories, viewing his road-going models as a commercial distraction designed solely to fund his racing team. But Ferruccio bypassed the race circuit completely. He did not need to enter the 24 Hours of Le Mans or the Monaco Grand Prix to challenge his rival. By putting a complex mid-engine racing layout into a production road car, he changed what buyers expected from a performance vehicle. The Miura defeated Ferrari by shifting the ground of the entire industry. It made front-engine sports cars look obsolete in an instant. Buyers who once waited in line for Maranello's latest Grand Tourer now demanded the mid-engine layout from Sant'Agata. Ferruccio had not won a trophy, but he had captured the imagination of the world, beating his rival by changing the rules of the game itself. To Enzo Ferrari, the racetrack was the only arena that mattered. Every road-going car bearing his name existed for a single purpose: to fund Scuderia Ferrari. But Ferruccio Lamborghini looked at the starting grid and saw a massive, unnecessary waste of resources. During his entire tenure at the helm of Automobili Lamborghini, he enforced a strict, uncompromising policy. The company would not run an official factory racing program. There would be no Formula One team, no works endurance campaigns, and no factory-backed sports car entries. Why burn millions chasing trophies when the ultimate test was the open road? Lamborghini's stated identity was clear. The company built refined, comfortable Grand Tourers, not fragile racing machines. This stance represented a fundamental philosophical split from Ferrari's institutional racing identity. Yet, the refusal to run a factory team did not keep the cars off the track entirely. Enthusiastic private owners and customer teams regularly entered their own 350 GTs, 400 GTs, and Miuras into international GT championships, hill climbs, and endurance events. The factory occasionally offered minimal technical advice, but these remained strictly privateer operations, never official works efforts. Instead of seeking validation from checkered flags, Lamborghini found its authority elsewhere. The young company relied on raw road car performance, bold engineering, and visual audacity. While Ferrari's reputation was forged in the grease of the pit lane, Lamborghini captured the world's imagination on the boulevard and the highway. Ferruccio proved that a car did not need a racing pedigree to be deeply desirable. It was a conceptual, philosophical victory rather than a sporting one. By redefining the very idea of high performance, he shook the foundations of the industry. Enzo Ferrari built cars to win races. Ferruccio Lamborghini built cars to prove a point, and in the end, that point became a legend. The early 1970s brought a harsh reality that no amount of engineering genius could solve. A global oil crisis gripped the markets, while rising production costs and labor unrest squeezed the margins of low-volume exotic car makers. Suddenly, fuel-thirsty V12 Grand Tourers looked less like the future and more like expensive liabilities. The financial strain on Sant'Agata grew severe. In 1972, faced with mounting economic pressure, Ferruccio made a choice that stunned the automotive world. He sold a 51% controlling stake in Automobili Lamborghini to outside investors. The man who had built an empire on self-reliance stepped back from day-to-day leadership. 2 years later, in 1974, he sold his remaining 49%, completely severing his ties with the car company that bore his name. He retired to his quiet estate near Lake Trasimeno, trading the roar of high-performance engines for the silent growth of his vineyards. Yet, his departure did not mark the end of the battle. It transformed it. The company outlasted the direct involvement of its founder, and in doing so, the personal grievance evolved into something far more permanent. What began as one man's bruised pride hardened into a corporate culture, a durable rivalry between two of the world's most iconic automotive giants. Did a brief, disputed encounter in Maranello truly forge a rival mark? Or did an embellished anecdote simply provide the perfect myth for a highly complex business venture? Perhaps the truth matters less than the legacy. The clash of egos became a permanent brand identity, a perpetual motion machine fueled by the memory of a single, defiant gesture. Enzo Ferrari built cars to win races. Ferruccio Lamborghini built cars to prove a point. And in the end, that point became a legend. Today, the roar from Sant'Agata still answers Maranello's dominance on the global stage. What began as a disputed clash of egos has become a permanent battle for automotive perfection. Enzo Ferrari built cars to win races. Ferruccio Lamborghini built cars to prove a point, and in the end, that point became a legend.